Notre Dame just culminated spring football practice with the Blue Gold game this weekend as we bring in our friend Eric Hansen, co-publisher of Inside Indy Sports. Eric, Notre Dame has a quarterback competition going on right now. That's not unique to college football programs, but with Riley Leonard out much of the spring injured, I feel like maybe there's more intrigue at the position than we've had at late because Steve Angeli looked phenomenal, I thought, on Saturday, and Kenny Minchie and freshman C.J. Carr also showed a lot of interesting promise.
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits, the bright spots of having a quarterback that wasn't fully functional to compete now in the spring was having those two young quarterbacks get really valuable reps, and you saw that show up in Saturday's Blue Gold game. I mean, C.J. Carr looks like he can command a college offense now, and he really should be a high school senior, still in high school, finishing up his spring semester. And then Kenny Minchie showed some really good things too. And so that competition is going to be at the top of the depth chart and lower in the depth chart because those two young guys are going to be pushing.
How much do you think Notre Dame just takes Leonard's body of work at Duke and values it against the limited experience we've seen from Steve Angeli, albeit pretty positive experience?
I think they value that resume, but the team needs to see that Riley Leonard is the #1 quarterback, especially after Steve Angeli put up the numbers that he did in the Sun Bowl, which is actually the highest passing efficiency rating for any quarterback in the last 50 years in their debut. So Riley Leonard needs to show the team he's the #1 quarterback. So that's going to happen during the summer. That's going to happen during the first couple weeks of training camp.
All right, again, we're talking with Eric Hansen of Inside Indy Sports. Another position where I think we saw a lot of talent this spring, perhaps more so than we're used to in recent years, is at wide receiver. The Irish brought in a couple of transfers in the offseason. We got to see K.K. Smith really make some pretty spectacular plays Saturday.
Yeah, K.K. Smith is a guy that was rehabbing a shoulder injury all during the regular season last year, had some bold practices, and all of a sudden, you know, we're watching practice, and who's 11? So he popped up. There's some good freshmen. Micah Gilbert had a couple of touchdown passes. He's teammate of Bryce Young from Charlotte Christian. You had a couple of transfers come in. Jaden Harrison was hurt in the game, but we saw Chris Mitchell on a long pass play from Steve Angeli that ended up being the game winner. And I think overall you see a lot more speed and a lot more depth in this receiving core, and that's what Notre Dame needs, and that's going to be something that I think new offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock is going to be able to take advantage of.
I know you think that 1 through 6 they have really good depth compared to recent years. Do they have the #1 that makes other defenses worry?
I think they have two really good receivers that they can count on as long as they're healthy, in Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse. And Jaden Thomas is into the boundary. Jaden Greathouse is going to share time with Jordan Faison at the slot receiver. What they need to emerge is Chris Mitchell or K.K. Smith or both at that field receiver. You think about Will Fuller and some of the really good offenses, they need that speed receiver to take a top off the defense. If they do that, it opens everything up for everybody else.
I want to talk about defense now a little bit. We didn't see a lot of the starters on Saturday by design. It was very vanilla, but we got to see a lot of the young guys play. And there's some young guys or new to us guys at the linebacker position that look like they have a ton of potential.
Yeah. You know, Jack Kaiser is the 6th-year player, and around him is this incredible wave of talent. We've been talking about how good Notre Dame's linebacker recruiting has been the last few cycles. It will show up this year on the field. Kingston Viliamu Asa is a 5-star recruit freshman. He was the first pick of the linebackers in the draft. Kaiser was already assigned to a team, but that shows you what his teammates think of him.
It's very telling.
Drake Bowen, a 2-sport player playing a little bit of baseball. He's probably going to be the starting middle linebacker. You got Jaden Osbury. Jalen Sneed, it's his time as a junior. Athletic, fast, and you're going to see a lot of these guys in niche packages. You just can't keep your best athletes off the field.
That's very exciting for the Irish. And then, you know, as you just project out a little bit, roughly 3 months away from the start of training camp, and it'll be the start of Marcus Freeman's 3rd season as a head coach here. What does his checklist look like between now and then, and how would you prioritize it?
I would prioritize it messing with the quarterbacks first, keeping everybody happy. I mean, you may lose a quarterback here in the next few days to the transfer portal if they don't like their prospects. And you would think, maybe one of the two guys at 2 and 3 right now, but keeping them happy. And then really structuring your summer and your training camps so that, again, you can see who your true number one is. I would say number 2 is getting the offensive line settled, and maybe that should be number 1, but they've got a couple of positions that are still up for grabs. They need to start forging some continuity. You may even look at a starting tackle in the portal now that you're through spring, and may add that to the mix. But the offensive line is the one position group that you don't feel great about going into the season. And then really it's about adding all the pieces that are coming in June. And there's going to be 8 freshmen that come in June. There's 2 grad transfers that come in June. Bo Collins, a wide receiver, Rod Hurd, a starting safety. You have Gabe Rubio coming back. You have Jordan Faison back from lacrosse. So integrating all those guys into what they didn't do this spring into your plan for fall.
I think this is going to be a fascinating season if you're a college football fan. You no longer need to go 12-0 or 11-1 to play for the national championship. 10-2, possibly 9-3 now does the trick with this new 12-team format.
Well, and we're going to have maybe a playoff home game in December at Notre Dame Stadium. So
fortunately, we'd be indoors.
Yeah,
right?
We'll be indoors. The rest of you, well, we'll have to walk from our cars, but invest in a nice heavy coat.
Jacket, hat, all the above. He's Eric Hansen, Inside ND Sports. Always fun talking Notre Dame football with you, Eric.
Absolutely, you too.